What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Montana Method podcast one more time. As always, your host, Nelson Rodriguez Jr., author, creator of Montana Method. This week, got a real special guest for you, Mr. Bryan Casella. Happy to have him in the building, dressing sharp with that red suit, bro. This guy looking like a comic book character villain. He's a beast. He's always dressed fly. I had to dress up myself for this, start looking sharp.
There we go.
We're going to get into some real cool topics. He has a super successful YouTube channel, over 200,000 subs. We're going to talk about how he started, what got him into YouTube, what works for him, what doesn't work for him, how he's kept growing the channel, and some other stuff too. So stay tuned. Elijah, kick the intro.
I've been out here hustling all my life. Every day we get into it. Really out here in these streets. That's day and night. Like there's nothing to it. When I was going through it, dog, I never got your call. I never asked for nothing, no. But now I want it all. Promise I'ma do it. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags.
Bryan, welcome to the show, my brother.
Appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for having me, bro. Dope intro.
Appreciate you.
That's sick.
Unfortunately, we couldn't hear it, but I'll show I'll show you that later. So, my friend, I have to ask this first. So, how'd you get into, because you can't, Bryan, when Bryan pulls up, it's Bryan.
Yeah.
You got a pretty cool, unique style. How'd you get into the suits? You got to tell me about that.
It's a great question, bro. And when I originally got into real estate about 11 years ago, right? When I looked at the game of real estate and sales and business and all that, I said, man, everyone's too stiff. Everyone's too rigid. I like the suits, but I want to add my own individuality to it, right? I want to add my own little flavor to it. And in the beginning, I didn't have the confidence, right? I was new. I was like, yo, I don't want to stick out like a sore thumb yet. I just want to show up. I want to get good at my job. And then later, maybe some of these things are going to figure themselves out, or I'll kind of step into that real confident, better version of me. So about 3 to 6 months into getting into real estate about 11 years ago, I started to get a little bit of swag, right? I started to get a little bit more confident. I was getting some results, and I said, you know what? I've closed a couple deals. I'm making some money. Let's play with this thing, right? So originally, I was buying suits at Kohl's, Burlington, nothing special, right? But I was going for the cuts and the looks that were a little bit different from traditional. Instead of just getting the black suit or the navy blue suit, I was like, hey, let me get this off gray one, right? Let me get this kind of purple one if they have it. And then when I was looking at the dress shirts, I really started choosing what appealed to me, what I thought fit me, what I wanted to portray. And before you know it, now I'm doing the combinations of gray and purple, right? And black and red, and getting rainbow colored ties, right? Or USA flag ties.
Right.
And really just accentuating my style, because it was me kind of coming out as more confident. But at the same time, I said, hey, in this world, I need to stand out, because if I go door to door, we were talking about that. If I dress a certain way, I'm going to be put into a box. They're going to think Mormon, Jehovah's Witness,
right?
Solar guy, right?
100%.
And I know by wearing something like this, they're not going to think that. They're going to be like, who the hell is this? And they're going to open the door, and that's my opportunity now. So it's a combination of strategy, but also me really showing the world who I really am. And I think a lot of people never really develop that confidence to just step out and say, yo, this is me.
And it's a great icebreaker,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everywhere you go, bro. Everywhere you go.
Man, I love it. How'd you, it always turns into that,
Yeah.
I mean, the first time we went, you had the Joker suit with the gray and the green, the ha.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great networking tool.
Absolutely. And I'll give shout out to Oppo Suits. I gave you guys a profile. Shout out to them. They're the ones that do these yellow, red Joker suits, the Christmas ones. Because when I saw that page, it actually came from one of my friends from Mexico, who's an image consultant over there. He's like, check out this page. And I was like, I had no idea. But as soon as I went there, I was like, man, I'm buying all these suits, bro. I got the forest green, the red. I literally have, I think, at least a dozen suits from them, bro.
That's dope.
Yeah.
It's funny. These algorithms know us so well. All the apparel pages that pop up on my feed on Instagram are all like, do you want to dress like a mob boss? And it's they'll have a picture of Ray Liotta and Goodfellas, and they'll be like, we have the same outfit. Or they'll pull up a picture of Robert De Niro in Casino, and then we got that too. These algorithms, bro.
They're listening, bro.
They are.
Listening. I'll have a conversation with my parents, and then I'll get an ad 5 minutes later. It's crazy.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
They see that all I really like is like Scarface stuff and mob stuff, and then boom, I hate it, bro. They target you and they keep targeting you and keep targeting you until you buy.
Yeah,
It's like
for real.
you seen that? What's that scene in Wolf of Wall Street? He's like, you call until they buy or they fucking die. That's what they're doing with these digital ads,
Yeah,
bro.
dude.
They just hit you and hit you and hit you, and it's a numbers game at the end of the day. They're like, bro, if we show it to them enough, they gotta buy it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they already have all the math with the impressions and all that, but as time has gone on too, and we can say this for people who have been on social media longer, even if I'm looking at a story, it's literally every other story now is an ad. Before it was every 4 or 5 or 10. Now it's every other one, ad. So it gets to the point where even if you spend any time on it, you're going to see a bunch of ads.
You're gonna see an ad, and it's inevitable. They have it in your DMs. They have it in the stories. They have it on the feed. They have it everywhere, bro.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty wild. So, Bryan, let's get into we'll get into real estate. How you got? I know, but let's get into the origin a little bit, and then we'll get into like the later stuff. So, I know your family's from Argentina.
Yes, sir.
Which is dope. I mean,
Yes,
you fit right in Miami.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Have you been to Little Buenos Aires on the beach?
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's the first place I stopped when I came, bro.
Yeah, I have good friends of mine. Shout out to Aron Chicharron. That's my boy, my Argentinian friend. Bro, I remember I used to work at a car dealership. I used to work at Ocean Cadillac, and when you guys won the World Cup, bro, he was like, all of us were just like, oh my God, we get it, bro. He'd wear the flag to work, and he instead of using a blanket because it get cold in there, he'd put on his flag, and we'd be like, Aaron, we get it, bro. Like,
Over the top. Huh?
we get it. You guys won, bro.
That's how my family is too, bro.
Nah, I get it. You know, so tell me a little bit about like the origin story. You know, when did your parents come over, and then like all that stuff.
Yeah. So the trippy part is me and my brothers were half brothers, right? We have the same father, different mother, and my parents met here.
Oh, okay.
My mom immigrated here when she was, I think, 5 years old. And then my dad ended up moving out here when he was 28. And he came with my padrino, Miguel, and they ended up like literally like in South Central LA in some back house. Like, hey, we got to figure it out.
Yo, that's
right?
wild.
Then they happened to meet Luis, who ended up becoming a trucker. And he started working in the trucking business, I think, because he came over like 6 months before my dad and Miguel. Then my dad got linked up with him, and boom, he was off to the races, and he ended up being a trucker in the United States. You know, and I grew up, born and raised in LA, and you know, it was one of those things where like I remember growing up and feeling almost split because you want to think you're American, but then you realize very quickly you're not because you have different values and you view the world differently. I got sent to school. I didn't speak English because they only raised me speaking Spanish.
Of course.
So when I went to school, some of the teachers are like, "Yo, is your son retarded? Like he doesn't speak fucking English," which was funny. But I learned pretty quickly, and I remember the kids picking on me too because they would talk, and I'm like, I didn't understand.
They didn't understand.
So they thought I was like dumb. They're like, "Are you retarded?" I'm like, "What the fuck is this kid saying?" You know what I mean? But it was interesting, bro. And I always felt that clash between like the Hispanic culture and the American culture. Because as an example, we're 100%. Real tight knit with our family. And I remember my friends at school saying, "Man, you know, next weekend I got to go see my grandma." I'm like, "Dog, that's your grandma." But they were like, not looking forward to it, upset, mad because they just wanted to stay home or do their thing.
Right.
So culturally, I felt really split. Same thing at school. All the Mexican kids are like, "Hey, bro, you Mexican?" I'm like, "Nah, dog, I'm not Mexican." They're like, "What the hell? Like, where are you from?" So that created a whole thing as well. But I just ended up playing basketball early on. My dad raised me playing soccer. And then, you know, that went where it went because I played in high school and college and all that stuff. But I really, at a young age, gravitated to sports. I love sports. I picked up a basketball, bro, and then it was game over. As soon as I picked up a basketball, I just obsessed about basketball. Like, I even have a Kobe tattoo.
Dope.
Just absolute obsession with the sport, man.
Kobe, the Black Mamba, man. That's one of those guys. It's him, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. Like, these athletes that just, you have to, I don't even like Tom Brady like that. I'm from Miami, so I'm not a Patriots fan. But like I just admire that guy, bro. You know what I mean? Those athletes that have that mentality, that it's just that killer mentality, do or die. No one's gonna beat me. I'm gonna dominate. To do that, and especially at the physical level, where your body, and especially when they get older, right? Like you feel the tear and the wear on your body, and in spite of like your physical limitations. They just keep their mind in the game, and they won't be denied, bro. You know that to me is, it's so awesome. You told me you got a full ride to play ball, right?
Yep.
Overseas? Okay.
Yeah, so I ended up playing in college, and then I got picked up after I went to USF, San Francisco, and then from there I went to overseas.
What'd you play in the like, how does college ball work over there?
So I played professionally in Spain.
Oh, so you
Yeah,
played
I
like
did
in the
college
European
here,
League?
and then I did, yeah.
Oh, that's dope. Okay, cool.
Played a little bit in South America too, but I dealt with a lot of injuries. Like I got injured my first year, my third year, and by my third year, I couldn't pass physicals anymore. I got a second ankle surgery. And that's when I kind of had to wipe my hands clean and start over. And at the time I was 24, 25, and it was tough, bro. Like I was like literally, I wasn't clinically depressed, but I for sure was depressed, bro. Like I wasn't talking to many people. I played the victim a little bit and was like, man, my dream got taken away from me. This is bullshit. I wanted to make the NBA. Because, you know, from age pretty much 11, 12 to 24, 25, it was all basketball. I'm talking obsession, bro. People are partying. I'm not partying. People are leaving the school, even in college. I'm staying there, getting the keys to the gym and working out every day. Like just absolute obsession, dude. I wouldn't really drink, mess around. I'd go to parties, but I'd leave early because I needed sleep to perform. So just when you wrap your whole world around that and then you feel at the time it gets taken away from you, kind of sucks. So, you know, you brought up Kobe. When I listened to him, I felt like, man, this is one of the few people that talks the way that I think.
The way I feel, yeah.
You know, because he's talking about, oh, I'm going to get to the gym early and I outwork everybody. And I'm like, yeah. And everyone else is like, oh, he's crazy. I'm like, bro, like he's in my head, you know? And that's why I idolized him so much because I felt like I could relate on that level of wanting to be the best and having that work ethic. And when you look around nowadays, people just don't have
non-existent, bro.
Yeah.
Everybody that has something is lucky. Yeah. Everybody that got something in life is, you know, you were at the right place at the right time. Yeah. It's like, bro, with the amount of attempts that I've made to succeed, it's about time I'm at the right place at the right time. You know what I'm saying? People, this overnight, the classic overnight success, the classic, he came out of nowhere. No, he didn't come out of nowhere. He's been putting out in work for 2, 5, 10 years. You just haven't seen him, you know? So it's, do you remember that Rick Ross song when he's like, you weren't with me shooting in the gym? Yeah. Obviously that was a Kobe reference, but it's kind of, that's life. Like you weren't with me when I was like, I'm here at the office a lot till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, sometimes midnight. I do that all the time. And I'm still certain that whenever my time comes, you know, even though I feel like I'm in my season right now, but that's a whole nother conversation. Whenever my time comes, people are going to be like, bro, who is this guy? Oh my God. And it's always that kind of typical mediocre mentality that I've ran away from. Like when I was real young, I was about 18. I ran into a guy who became a millionaire by age 26. And I learned a lot from him. And he taught me, Nelson, it's real easy. If you don't know what you're doing, start by looking at the majority of people and do the opposite of whatever they're doing. If you do the opposite, that's a good start. You know, at least you have a head start. Yeah. And that's what I've noticed. There's a commonality amongst average people that they all have these ways of thinking and ways of seeing the world. And I'm like, all right, so if I just think the opposite way, or if I see things, choose to have a perspective that's the opposite of this person, I'll get different results. You know? So, yeah, man, I'm with you.
And I approached everything that way, bro. Like, even when I picked up a basketball, you know, I'm ambidextrous, but I noticed, man, these kids, they don't work on their opposite hand. If they're a lefty, they don't work on the right. If they're a righty, they don't work on the lefty. So we're doing tryouts like a week later after I start, and I'm doing layups and everything with both hands, and the other kids can't even dribble with the other hand. But it was because I looked at it and said, okay, that's what they're not doing. I want to be the best at this thing. I need to fill that void. I need to fix that issue. And I just think that type of mentality, like you said, is very rare. But the precursor to that is you want to be the best. And I think that's been ridiculed in our society too. Why are you going for so much, bro? Oh, like, why do you have to be obsessed? And you think you're better? I never said I think I'm better than everybody. I just want to be number one, and I'm willing to earn that position. And unfortunately, again, you don't see it. And I think as us people, we can say that we exhibit that or we appreciate that. We need to pass that torch, you know?
Bro, isn't it crazy how when someone's in the pursuit of something excellent or something extraordinary, instead of supporting that guy or asking why he's doing that, people try to shame him. Yeah. That's crazy, bro. Yeah. That's so insane. Yeah. You've heard of crabs in the bucket, right? Yep. Yeah, like crab tries to crawl out, all the crabs will tear him down. Yeah. And if he keeps trying to crawl out, the crabs will rip his limbs off. Like, I've just never understood why people are so, they have like this this herd mentality. You know, it's like, oh, I'll go with the herd. I don't want to be too far ahead because everybody's gonna notice me, and I don't want to fall too far behind because I'll be left out.
Yeah.
But I've just over the years I've taken enough risk to where I'm not scared of being alone anymore.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Most of the times, loneliness and kind of taking your own path, that's the price you have to pay, at least temporarily, to get to where you want in life.
I agree, bro. And that's what I've seen as I've ascended more in success. That circle has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. And although I have a tremendous network, if I party, I can invite 1 million people. When it comes to business, there's so many people I can break bread with and talk to and partner with and do joint ventures with. But when it comes to your immediate circle, it's going to get smaller and smaller, because as you get higher and higher, you think better, right? You think bigger, you do more, you become more. Of course, that pool of people that are in that with you in that category are smaller and smaller and smaller, bro. It's just 100%. The way it is.
It's a natural occurrence in life.
Yeah.
I've noticed even in nature, like the animals that survive, typically they separate themselves from the pack. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like there's a really interesting animal is the wolf. The wolf everybody talks about the lone wolf, but nobody talks about the wolf pack and how things work within the pack. Wolves are one of the only animals who actually honor their parents. Like as wolves get older, it's the young leader's responsibility to take care of the parents.
Right.
So as they get older and they can't run and do all that stuff, like the leader goes out and hunts and gets the food and all that stuff, and then brings food back for the parents. Like there's a lot of similarities between humans and wolves, and I believe that we're just like everything is a mirror of itself. Like the way humans operate is kind of like how it is in nature amongst animals, and how animals operate is a reflection of like how the solar system works. Like everything is a mirror of itself if you compare it to one another. We're all kind of one.
Yep.
I'm going off way into a tangent.
I love it.
Let's get back to so you get injured 24, 25, you have to reinvent yourself. So where do you go from there?
So I ended up staying in South America for a while. I went to visit family because I knew in the back of my mind, when I get back to the States, I have to face the music, right? So I stayed with my uncle, Ricardo, and I worked with him, and I was doing it big over there, right? I was helping him, living a pretty good, what you'd be considered like a 25-year-old. I had my own place, my own car, going out, hooking up with chicks, like doing the thing. But very quickly I said, okay, what's the future in this, right? Like this is cool for now, but I can't do this forever, and this isn't really fulfilling to me.
Which is rare, because someone in their mid-20s that would be in that position would be like, man, I'm living the life.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm living the dream, right? But basketball and me getting away from it left a black hole in my soul, bro, because I put so much into basketball, and I was so passionate about it, bro, that I was just like, man, what the fuck am I going to do now, right? So I was still, and I felt like I was dealing with that sadness and depression, you can say, filling it with that, the nightlife and just doing what you're supposed to do, right? So all the superficial shit, right? So I come back, and from an experience that I had in college where I got a taste of like that corporate world, I said, I'm not going to get a job, right? And, in short, when I did that job in college, I always had the mentality of, you know what, whether I work for somebody else or myself, I'm going to give it 100%. I'm going to show up early, stay late, do what I can, do extra. And everyone else around me, bro, is the opposite. Showing up late, leaving early, bitching and complaining, right? And I go to the leadership. I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like, I'm doing all this work and I'm getting paid, $8 an hour. And so is this dude, and he's not doing anything. I get to run around the emails, the corporate shit, right?
Of course.
So I said, I'm not gonna, that was at 19. I said, I'm not gonna do it. Whatever I do in the future, when it comes time to get a job or build a career, I will start my own business, and I would rather be out on the street than work for somebody else. Like, that was just the mentality. So when I come back, getting a job isn't an option. But the family, get a job, be real.
Oh, of course.
So what do I do, bro? I go to an enterprise, rent a car, right? I do the first interview. I find out at the interview, if I got hired, this is back in 2010, 2011, in LA, bro, Los Angeles. I'm going to be working Monday through Saturday, 12 to 14-hour days, and I'm going to make $28,000 in a year, which even back then you couldn't live on in LA.
That's wild.
Forget it. You would spend more than that just in your rent for like a studio.
Right.
And I don't go back to the second. They invite me to a second interview. I don't go because I had that real life moment. Am I going to give in to this, or am I going to go after what I said I want to go after? Right. So I start kind of trying to figure it out. I bump into an old friend who I remember from back in the day. His dad was a coach, one of our coaches in National Junior Basketball, NJB. He was always a real estate broker, right? And when we would go to his house and stuff, of course, he had money. He did his thing. He owned like a commercial plaza. The dude had made it. He immigrated from Mexico, built himself up, became a real estate broker, killed it.
Mm.
I look at it, I'm like, maybe this is something I can do, right? So I set up a meeting with him, and we meet. And keep in mind, bro, he's tiny. He's like 5'6", 5'5". Right? He's tiny. He hasn't seen me, bro, since I was like 12.
Wow.
So he sees me now. I'm towering. He's like, what the fuck, right? So he starts talking to me, and very quickly, just from going there, talking to him and visiting, I said, oh, man, this is it. This is it. I can work as hard as I want to. I don't have to kiss anybody's ass. I don't have to work my way up a ladder. I get paid by commission. If I work hard and put in the work, I can learn this, right? Because it's just basic sales skills and learning the systems of running a real estate business. And this is entirely based on my effort. Sign me up. So at that meeting, we talked for 2 hours. I said, sign me up right now. I'm doing this. I didn't plan out the whole thing. I had messed around and talked to my friends, and one was like selling apparel, but I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this. But with real estate, bro, I was like, this is it. This is it. I don't know why. I have a lot of weaknesses. I have a lot of strengths, but I feel like they align here. I'm disciplined. I'm willing to put in the work. I'll show up first, leave last, and I'm going to make this thing work. And I just came in with that workhorse mentality, dude. And right away, I started seeing success in real estate, like right away.
So would you say that's interesting. How old were you?
28 at that time, 27, 28. Yeah.
Okay. And was it the same situation, like the same reoccurring thing where you separated yourself by like showing up early, leaving late, putting in extra work, or would you say other factors came into play?
Mainly that. So let me give you some more insight on that. Back then, it's not like it is now. Now you can go online on a website, bro. This website, you can get your real estate approval to take the state test in 3-4 weeks. Take the state test and you'll be licensed within a month or two. Back then, I had to do the classes at the actual brokerage, and that's at a slower pace. You can't just accelerate that. So it took me probably 6 months or 8 months to pass all that and then take my state test and get licensed. So in total, it was probably close to 9 to 10 months. So it wasn't as quick as it is now. But in that time, what did I do? I started showing up in a suit. I started going to the meetings when I could, when I wasn't doing little side hustles and work to, save up money.
Right.
I started practicing all the scripts that they have and presentations and recording myself and just obsessing about it, bro. And everyone else is like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, dog, I want to be ready day one. I'm already preparing to be ahead of the 8 ball because I want to kill it when I want to get my license and people think that I'm already in the business 10 years. Right? And that to me wasn't talent. It was effort. You know what I mean? So by the time we do, and I'm talking obsessed, bro. Like when we would do the office meetings on Friday, I said, hey, let me do a mock presentation in front of everybody. And they had almost 100 agents. So I'm going up there, really not knowing what I'm doing, bro, but putting myself feet to the fire because I want to be good. And I would tell people, don't be easy on me. Critique the shit out of me. If I suck, tell me I suck. But I want to get better. Right? So by the time, bro, you fast forward and I get my license, I'm moving and shaking like I've already been in the business. I'm going with agents on appointments and just, being a fly on the wall and listening. And I'm doing all that before I get licensed. And I've given this game to people on YouTube. Nobody does it, bro. But that comes back to this. I wanted to be the best and I wanted to do well. And I was willing to be obsessed and do whatever it took. And it really came down to that. I had no network. I had to borrow my dad's suit, which standing would get to like right here because he's shorter than me, right?
Right.
I didn't have any money. I would work side hustles and random jobs to save up money because I said, I'm going full time. I'm not going to have another job, right? And if I have to be out on the street, so
it is what it is,
right? Yeah. So there was I got hooked up. I got lucky and people fed me deals. I got my first couple deals from making phone calls and going door to door. And I got them right away, but it was just an extreme effort. But all that stuff I did
Because
even
before,
before I got licensed, I don't hear people talking about doing that. And I've given that game to people for free, but they don't do it. But you got to have that seed. You have to want it and have the desire to be good, bro. And people just don't. They're okay being mediocre.
Preparation is such a big part of life. Like, I heard one of my mentors said this years ago. He said, you're never nervous. You're just unprepared. He goes, think about it. When you prepare, when you know the answers, when you know what to say, when someone says something and immediately you're just like, yo, but switch it around. When you're not prepared, you're scared of what people will say because you don't have an answer and you don't know. So what preparation is everything. If you're prepared, everything else is easy. If you're not prepared, everything becomes hard all of a sudden. Preparation is so key. For me, I'd rather prepare and like do all the hard work before and not have any surprises than get to the moment where I need to get to and then all of a sudden there's a million variables that I don't know about.
Yeah.
I'm big on preparation, bro. Like even you saw, like we walk in, we sat down. I did all the preparation last night. I came last night. Well, I didn't come last night. I was here till real late, but set up everything, the lights, everything from the lights to the cameras, to the angles, to the hard drive on the computer. Everything is done. I walk in, we sit down, we're ready to go. Why? Because I came prepared, bro. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Expecting the unexpected is super important. You have to. I always put myself in the worst case scenario mentality. Like, all right, what if this goes wrong? All right, I'll have a backup because I have this. What if that goes wrong? All right, now I have this. I always ask myself those extra questions that most people don't think about, because that's what gives you the edge at the end of the day, 100%. And all you need in life to get ahead, all you need is this much of an edge over everybody else, and you'll win by
100%.
default. You know,
100%, bro.
just that 1%.
Yeah. And I wanted to be leaps and bounds ahead of people, and that's why I did all that, right? I said I want to be so ahead of everybody else that they won't even be able to conceive my level, you know? And it started showing right away, right? Because we would report every week our numbers. How many people are you talking to, basically? How many contacts are you making?
Right.
Everyone else on those Monday meetings, 10, 20, 15, 30, 5. Me, 250, 350, 300 of how many people I'm talking to about real estate.
Right.
And then a couple weeks later, when I'm getting deals, bro, what are you doing? I'm like, look at the board, bro. What takes you half a year or a year, I do in a week.
Right.
I said, it's Monday afternoon. I talked to 40 people already this morning. That's more than all of y'all did last week. Well, except for, Ernie, he did 45 in a week.
Right.
I did that in a morning session. And I'm going to do another session today and then a ton of other sessions the rest of the week. But again, and a part of that too comes down to people just not understanding the scope of work that's going to be required, right? Like we were talking about that off camera, whether it's, doing a podcast or building a business, like it takes a lot of hard work and time and dedication.
Bro. Preparation. Yeah. Like I told you the other day, I commented on a friend of mine on one of his reels, and I said, if I had $1 for every time somebody says, yo, I want to start a podcast, I'd be a millionaire. Yeah. If I showed them, and then I in the same comment, I said, if I showed them the work that it takes just to do 1 week's worth of content, none of them would ever want to do this, because it's like the hunger just isn't there, bro. When you want something, you'll make it happen no matter what. Like it's either I'll find a way or I'll find an excuse. Yeah. If it's important to me, I'll find a way. If it's not that important, I'll just whatever. I'll make an excuse and I won't do it.
They just want the result, bro. That's what it is. You see that in business. You see that in dating. Like people's
100%.
standards are like 1,000% like out of whack, and they're delusional. I talked about that today with somebody. I said, you're out of touch with reality. And I do this with, it's men and women. It's everybody.
100%.
But in the business world or in the dating world, it's like people have this weird estimation of themselves, or they think making $1 million is easy. It's like, are you kidding me, dude?
If it was easy, everybody would do it. Right. What's that old adage? If you were worthy of the results, you'd have them already. Yeah.
People don't want to hear that, bro. Like when you tell people, and this is because there's extenuating circumstances to a degree, right? But the exception does not disprove the rule.
Correct.
And I tell people, you're where you're at, or your life is where it's at, your circumstances, because that's what you deserve, right? And if you look around and you don't like it, change it. But are you willing to do, like if I gave you a crystal ball and it said it's going to require this much work to do it, would you actually do it? And the interesting part is, bro, like when I flip the frame on things, people suddenly get it. So an interesting experiment that I did was I took the effort that I put in my first year in real estate, and I sold it to people like a job. What if I told you showed up here every day, I'd work you to the bone, but you're guaranteed at the end of the year to make $160,000. Everyone's like, yo, sign me up. Where do I sign? And then when I say, okay, great, you know what? It's not a job. That's exactly what I did my first year in real estate. Get to work. Then all the excuses. And then the excuses come out. Because
people are willing to do it for other people, but they don't want to do it for themselves, bro. Yeah. They want to just be spoon-fed everything. Here, this is exactly what you have to do. If the rest of us have to figure it out, you have to figure it out too, bro.
Yeah, and it's just the reality, bro, because whether it's anything entrepreneurial, we'll say, people want to come in with that 9-to-5 mindset, the mediocre mindset. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work.
Man. Yeah. You can't treat it like a job. And if you're willing to stay late and make excuses, because how many people do you know that have a job and it's like, oh, I have to stay late today because my boss made me, or oh, I have to do this thing because I don't want. You show up to this place that you hate, that you can't stand, on time every day. You do all your work. You turn it in on point, like no mistakes. You're willing to do that for other people. You're not willing to do it for yourself. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And then people play the game, right? Then there's the people who do their job and they show up on time and all that. But then there's the people who do just enough not to get fired, but not enough to like move.
Ascend. Yeah. Right.
It's, oh man, how are you willing to sit in a place for 40 hours a week that you hate? And that's acceptable, but it's not acceptable to stay late for yourself, to work harder for yourself, to build your own dream. And that's the mentality we're in.
Yeah, and then those same people that do that will then say, well, when I work on my own, I'm going to do more. It's like, bro, you can't even, as an employee, you can't even do well. You think you're going to do better as an
100%.
entrepreneur? Get out of here.
100%. I wouldn't hire you.
Yeah. How you do anything is how you do everything.
100%. I used to ask myself that, like, whenever I wanted to evaluate myself, I said, if I owned a company and I looked at a guy that was doing what I'm doing right now, would I hire him? Like, would I hire myself? And if the answer is no, then you already know what you got to do. You got to step it up, So.
And in our world, bro, we don't have the straight talk anymore.
No.
We can't be real with people. We can't just tell them how it is, because then you're offensive or you're an asshole, you're a dick. When in reality, I'm just giving you the truth, my dude. No one else does, but I will. If that makes me the bad guy, then so be it. I'll swallow that pill so that you get better.
100%. And that, unfortunately, that's what it takes. It's a series of those uncomfortable moments. Yep. I was on a phone call with one of my partners today, and it was a real phone call. He had to tell me something that I did yesterday that he wasn't like in alignment with. And if we don't have that uncomfortable moment, and I'm not uncomfortable and I kind of don't like him for a second, then I wouldn't even be aware of what I did. Because I'll be real with you. For a moment there, I was like, man, this guy's, fuck, bro. Like, I don't want to talk to this guy right now. Yeah. But he's making me aware of a mistake I made. And you only learn from your mistakes. You don't learn from your successes, man. Right. Every time I've learned something, it's because the loss was hard. Yeah. And you feel it. I felt it in my gut. And I was like, man. And you don't forget those moments because they hurt. Yeah. You don't forget pain. Yeah. Pain, it serves a huge purpose in your life. But when you succeeded and everything was, sunshine and rainbows and there's money and everything's great, you're not learning anything, And the reason you had those successes is because of all those painful moments. You stack them up all together, or you put together all the things you learn, and it culminates into the right set of circumstances and making the right moves and execution.
Bro, I broke down in tears 3 times my first year in real estate. Bro. 3 times. I mean, I broke down in tears before, too, like when I kind of came to the reality that I couldn't play basketball anymore. That destroyed me. I was crying for like a week, but I remember sitting in my car. It was after a day that I went door to door. It was like 120 degrees. I knocked on like 150 doors, didn't get shit, right? People slammed the door in my face.
That's
and like,
serious, rejection, bro.
Yeah, and doubting myself, right? Like, can I do this and this and that? But looking back, like you brought up when you have the success, bro, that built so much character, right? Taught me so many things, gave me the right perspective, made me stronger emotionally. Then now I feel unbreakable. So whenever people are going through tough times, I'm like, good. Until I hope it gets tougher, because in the end, you're gonna thank yourself for going through that. 100%. But you got to go through it, right? You're not gonna be built of steel if you haven't gone through anything, right? So looking back in those moments, it sucked. You're right. Pain. Yeah. Wanted it to end. Thought it was bullshit. You play the victim, like, oh, right. Why me? Why me?
But then you look back.
Yeah, but then you look back, you're like, that's what built me. That's what brought me to where I'm at today. 100%. So I wouldn't turn it around for anything. Like, because people always ask, oh, if you went back, I'm like, I would want to go through the same thing and more to build me to where I'm at. I don't want to remove those things, because then I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
100%, bro. Yeah. I'm with you. So when is it that you get into the content? Like, when did you start the YouTube channel? Was that, you were already a couple years into real estate? Like, when did that happen?
Great question, man. No, actually, I started right away. And this is the trippy part with this. I saw the power of video right away, because couple things. 2 things stand out to me, right? I remember I just started experimenting. I said, man, every time I call people, sometimes they pick up, sometimes they don't. Is there a way that I can follow up with people to get a higher response rate more consistently, right? So I started experimenting, and back then it was a little tougher, but I would send people videos, right? I would shoot them a video text, or I would create an email, upload to my YouTube, and embed the video in my email. This is how old this is, right? And I noticed when I would do that with my clients, like if I texted them a video, I would get a response every single time. They'd either like it or, oh, wow, no one's ever sent me a video, like something, right? I was like, okay, this is genius. Second part is I'm already shooting video, but it's more under we can say the title of my own personal diary. And at the same time, me giving a big middle finger to all the people who hated me. I said, I want it to sting when they see me every day producing content and being successful, because they doubted me, right? Kind of a chip on my shoulder. And I don't recommend that to people as to be the only motivator, but it helps, right? And I remember I walk into the office, and this is probably a couple of days after the experiment I told you about, sending it to clients and that light bulb going off. One of the top producers, Sergio, he's sitting at his desk because he was the only one who would get to the office early like me. And he's watching one of my YouTube videos on his computer. I don't say anything. I just say hi to him. But I walk by, I'm like, wow, this top dog has one of my YouTube videos on? What the fuck? Like, why is he watching my shit? And all it was, I remember to this day, you can go on my channel. It's called My Real Estate Story. Has like probably 50, 60,000 views. And it's just about me saying, hey, I'm a young cat here in Cali, and I'm doing my real estate business. This is what I'm doing. It's like a 6-minute video. And the light bulbs now just start. I'm like, okay, the higher ranked person is watching it. So obviously there's a level of respect for me, but clients are responding to it. I was like, this is it. People are watching content and acting like we're watching Ken on Channel 5 News. They have respect and admiration for these people. And now I can step into that. It has that type of effect on people. And that's really when I said, okay, I need to really take Instagram and YouTube and all this stuff serious. And this is back in 2013, bro. I just saw something.
That's
and
the
at the
early
time,
days.
yeah, and at the time people were like, it's a waste of time. What are you doing? I said, no. You guys aren't seeing what I'm seeing.
Bro, that's sometimes it takes that, right? Like you have to see things in a different perspective to be able to see what's coming, because you got to surfers have to position themselves before the wave comes in order to catch the wave. It's the same thing in life. We have these opportunities that come in, but if you don't position yourself to receive the opportunity and to be able to take advantage of it, then it's just going to pass you by. And I've always noticed that the people who are at least chasing what they want in life are always on the lookout for those opportunities, whereas the regular Joe Schmoes who aren't really about progressing in life and getting better, they see these opportunities pass by and they're like, oh, that kind of stuff isn't for me. Or, oh, no, I could never do that. And instead of being like, wait a second, that's coming. I see this coming. What can I do to be a part of it? They're making, like, they just pretty much accept the fact that it's not even for them before it even shows up. You know what I mean?
Or they wait for other people. Then they jump on, it's too late. I see that a lot. Like, I remember I would tell people, yo, and this isn't any shade to Uber drivers. I'm like, yo, if your Uber driver is telling you about the next investment opportunity, it's probably too late. You know what I mean? Like, I got mad love for Uber drivers, though. So.
Definitely. Who was it that, I think it was like when the stock market first opened in the 1920s, that cab drivers would tell passengers about the stock they just invested in. I think that's where that old adage comes from. It's like when you hear your cab driver pitching you a deal, it's like, I don't think you should get in it. It's crazy. Alrighty, guys, we're going to hear from our first sponsor, Gus Villa Jewelry, and we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, the familiar voice of your host, Nelson Rodriguez Jr., taking a quick detour to talk to you about the best jewelry shop on the internet, Gus Villa Jewelry. Let's be honest here, guys. Jewelers in Miami are super shady sometimes. I've even been ripped off once or twice by one of these self-proclaimed alchemists that ended up being these weirdos who sell you a bunch of stuff that make your neck and your fingers turn black. Let me tell you, after I met my boy, Gus Villa, he elevated my bling game. The Gus Villa team, these guys are more than just jewelers. These guys are magicians, turning metal and stone into your next head turner. Trust me, these pieces shine so much you can see them from outer space. Head over to GusVillaJewelry.com, and because you're a Monty, that's right, part of the Montana Method crew, you can use the promo code Montana to snatch 5% off your order. You don't just get hooked up with some shine, you get to have some dough in your pocket. Double whammy. So guys, what are you waiting for? Elevate your jewelry game. Show the world what you got. You got some style, you got some bling, you're all blinged up. Come on back after you do that. We've got more Montana Method Madness waiting for you. Now back to the podcast. So Bryan, so YouTube, what is over time? Obviously, you've been super consistent because you've been doing the YouTube thing like a few years. What are some things you can say you've experimented with that didn't work? What are some things that you started trying out that did end up working? What's worked for you consistently? What have you stayed away from? What have you stuck to? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the one recurring theme that I think has helped me a lot, because my focus was never just, I want to blow up. It was more about demonstrating and showing what we don't see today. Like I always made a commitment from day one. I said, look, I'm going to be raw, real, honest, transparent.
Right.
I'm going to show receipts, and I'm just going to call things as they are. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to tell people what they want to hear. And I know that's going to seem harsh to a lot of people, but we need more of this.
Yes,
right?
100%.
So that's always been my theme from day one. And at the same time, it's been very successful because the type of people that I've attracted, it's become almost like a cult-like thing where they just stick with me, right? Because they like it. And it's like, okay, this dude's real. Then when they meet me in person or we do events or they join my coaching or whatever it is, they're like, oh man, he's just like YouTube. Like there's no difference here, right? If anything, he's even better in person, right?
I like that.
Versus the opposite that we see nowadays where they have the fake facade and then they get exposed, right? So that was always the theme. And it even extended early on into not knowing what I was doing. Bro, I remember shooting videos, right? I would shoot videos and I didn't know that when you shot vertical, you'd have the black
Things
bars
on the side. Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, what the, like, how do I get rid of this shit? Like I'm trying to edit it and like, and someone's like, you dummy, just turn the phone, right? Like, you idiot, turn the phone. But it never stopped me from uploading. I remember one of my first videos that I posted on YouTube where I did a property tour. I had the camera facing me, so all you see is my face. I'm like, oh, it's a glitch. So I record the whole video and post it, and it's my fucking face. But I still posted it, right? Because I said, look, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not going to be the smoothest communicator in the beginning. The audio is going to suck. I might have this off or this on or the flash off or on, but I'm going to post because not only do I need to eventually work these kinks out, I just need to make sure that I'm posting and being consistent.
Super important.
And that was like, dude, I probably grew my YouTube channel to 100,000 with just my phone, bro. And like, I never did any editing.
Wow.
Like just because the focus of that, the steady improvement, because when you're consistent, you'll figure this stuff out. When you're
100%.
committed to it, it's like, okay, yeah, I have to figure out this thing with the video. Like I'm committed to the process. So very quickly, a lot of that stuff starts getting ironed out. It doesn't take months or weeks or years. It takes a couple days or a week to figure it out. Right. And then being raw, real, and honest, people were just vibing with it. Because again, when I started YouTube, it wasn't to blow up. And all I was really focused on, because I know you brought up the question too about like what works and what doesn't. I really wanted to show people what I was doing. So I said, hey, I'm a young salesperson and realtor. Let me show people what I'm doing. So I would show people the day in the life videos. I did that before it was even popular, and those videos exploded. I showed people live cold calling sessions where I was calling certain lead sources or cold calling neighborhoods, right? And those videos to this day, 300, 500,000, like 700,000, like they're huge. And it was really just showing people what I was doing. I was sharing my thoughts, showing my day-to-day and the hard work that I was putting in. And then from there, it started to evolve. But showing people what you're actually doing, if you're working, is very effective. Because I noticed most people's curiosity is, oh, he's in real estate? What do they do? And I'm showing people clips of me making calls and showing homes to clients and going and getting listings and, you know, showing off a new construction property, like the day-to-day, you know? Just like recently, I was in Georgia because I'm working with a developer now, and we're showing one of the new development projects. It's 125 units, like, so it's evolved to that, but the essence is still the same, right? In addition to that, I really was open and raw with people, and this is very effective, sharing what I did right and what I did wrong. A lot of people,
Super important.
when you're vulnerable and you show people what you did wrong or the mistakes that you made, they love it. So one of the first mistakes that I made was getting my, at that time, I was 3-4 months in the business. I bought an Audi. Stupid mistake. It worked out to build my credit and all that, but I probably pulled the trigger a couple months too early because I was feeling myself a little bit too much.
Right.
But I made a video. Hey, why buying an Audi was a dumb mistake. And of course, oh, you idiot, this and that. But hey, I said, I'm not doing this for anything else except to show you guys the mistakes that I'm making.
100%.
Then after that, I made a video that exploded where I showed people how to go from being broke to being a millionaire. Because after 4 or 5 years, I on paper became a millionaire, right? And I brought up that video and said one of the major issues that you have is you don't have any financial literacy or discipline. And that was one of the points in the video. And that video got like 700,000-800,000 views or something. It just exploded. And that vulnerability or sharing, like, you know, going through depression and all that. I've made videos about that throughout my career in YouTube, and they've done very, very well. But it's just me sharing a vulnerability or a mistake or raising my hand and saying, hey, I made this mistake or I went this way when you really should have gone that way. Right? That's been very successful. A big one that really started the inception of the explosion of my channel originally was collabs. I've always been a big car guy, right? I kind of got off the gas pedal a bit when I moved to Florida 3 years ago, but I was always heavily involved in the car community in Cali, right? I've owned a Lamborghini, a Porsche GT3 RS. Like, I've had all the nice cars that people want, right? but I was always watching the videos back then and like, oh man, I want that car. And I would go to the meetups and all that. There was one guy that I followed at the time, right when I bought my GTR. I was 2 years in the business. I got a Nissan GTR, fucking loved it, obsessed about it. I would like hug it in the garage, right? Love the shit. Guy I followed wanted to buy that car, right? And it was one of his dreams. So I email him off his YouTube channel. He has like 200,000 followers. I'm like, hey, bro, I have a GTR. Do you want to check it out? I'm in SoCal too. We can meet up. Bro, he responds in 2 minutes. Pull up, right? And if people go back to my channel, me, and this is a shout out to Smurf and WRX, right? Because that's Mike, Big Mike. We collab. That took my channel from 2,000-3,000 to like 20,000-30,000 like this in a couple of weeks, because we did 2 collab videos that just exploded. And he was just driving my car. We were chatting, and we told the whole story about how I met him. He talked about me and my career and what I've been doing in real estate. And that opened up the door to more opportunities. But that gave me a humongous surge because it exposed me to a new audience. But just like we were talking about off camera, we shared a mutual bond there with cars, right? And I just saw a fit. I was like, you want that car, bro? I got it. I only live probably 20 minutes from you. Let's meet up. And that, to this day, we're friends too, you know? So the collaboration was huge. Now, what doesn't work? Wanting to do things your way. We're stubborn. Well, I want the content this way and to do it this way. But if it doesn't work, even if it's your baby and it's a prized possession, it doesn't work and you can't do it, right?
That's such a big one.
Yeah, and that's huge. That for sure didn't work for me a lot. Another one that I would tell people that I haven't done myself, but I see it a lot, is the inconsistency. If you upload 3 or 4 times a week, you need to keep that up.
Yes.
Right. Now, 100%. Again, I don't run into that issue, but I bring it up because I know that's a major pitfall, and everybody files that under I already know, but you're not consistent. So if you already know it and then you're being inconsistent, that's even worse, because now you're not ignorant to the facts anymore. You're straight up not putting in the work, and you're ignoring what you already know.
Bedros Keuilian.
Yeah.
He put up a video the other day where he was talking about, I forgot why he referenced it, but he said, I see people's social media as a reflection of who they are. If I see that you posted twice last week and you didn't post this week, and then you posted one next week, like, that's a reflection of who you are as a person. If you're not consistent with social media, you're probably not consistent with other things. You could fall into the very minute, like, segment of society where, okay, maybe it's not, but for the most part, he's right. Yeah. And that, bro, I remember seeing that and being like, man, it is, because at that point, when I saw that video months ago, it was probably almost a year ago when I found that video, I was posting 3 times a day, bro. I went on a mission. So I don't know if you know my story. I went on your podcast, so I think you do know my story. So as whoever has been watching the podcast knows, I drew out this whole strategy to be like, bro, how can I stay consistent in spite of being indicted, in spite of having to go to prison? And I drew out the whole strategy of how to post out 6 months, 8 months worth of content without me having to touch YouTube. And I did it, bro. And I got back and I had a YouTube short go crazy and get 100,000 views. That to me was like, back then. So I took it a step further. I said, all right, now that I have to, I'm physically back. Like, if it got these kinds of results when it was automated, how can I take it to the next level with me being back and being able to physically touch this? I was like, all right, bro, I'm going to start posting 3 times a day. And I'm not going to stop posting 3 times a day until I get a video that hits like at least 1 million views. Bro, I shit you not. 4 months later, I had a video get 2 million views on Instagram.
Hell yeah.
And it's just about consistency, bro. Yeah. The way I see life is like, it's like you're like a baseball player. The more at bats you get, the more possibilities you have of hitting a home run. You're not going to hit a home run 10 times out of 10. You might not even hit it 2 times out of 10. But guaranteed, if you go up to bat enough times, you're going to hit a home run eventually. Yep. And what I lacked in skill, I made up in numbers, right? People don't have that realization. Like, if you're not skilled enough to close every single deal, which even the best people in the world don't do, you have to make up for it in other things. And how do you do that? In numbers. So you work harder. And that's what I did. I started posting more. I started posting 3 to 4 times every single day. I was posting 3 podcasts a week, bro. Like, I went in, and I was doing 2 in English and 1 in Spanish. Yeah. Like, I was going in, and without fail, bro. And by the way, it's funny because my story is crazy. Like, TikTok is my worst performing platform. And everybody is like, oh, TikTok, yeah, you'll go viral on TikTok first. It took me forever. That was the video that hit and got 2 million on Instagram. It started on TikTok first. I posted it, and I was having the worst day that day, bro. Like, I showed up to my studio. My people didn't have my stuff ready. I was at a different studio than I was here. Like, I used to pay, like, this guy at his studio and rent his studio. Bro, nothing was set up. Like, the studio looked like shit. I had to set it up myself. Mind you, I was paying this guy. I had to set it up myself. My guest ended up showing up early and helped me set up. Like, I was so pissed that day. I got that. It was one of those days where I was like, fuck podcasting, bro. I'm done with this bullshit. Yeah. And I was like, bro, I'm done. Like, I'm going to record this podcast. I'm going to post it. And I'm going to figure out what else to do, bro, because I'm done with this shit. Yeah. Bro, I post, like, that day's reel. I finished the interview. I look, boom, like 15,000 views on TikTok. I was like, what? Damn. No way. It happened. It was like the world was like, all right, you earned it, you know? Yeah, I love it. And then it started going crazy on TikTok. And then it died off on TikTok after like 70,000 views. And immediately it picked up on Instagram. And about 3 weeks later, it was like at 2 million views, bro.
That's some boss shit right there. Bro. I love it. 2 million, man.
Yeah. So,
you know, and to continue on the previous point too, one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of people make, and I did this early on, like I mentioned earlier, is people are afraid to accentuate their individuality, right? So they either watch too many other content creators and try to copy them, like the image and how they sound because they like them, which is normal, right? Like if you like somebody, you want to embody all their qualities, but they lose themselves in that process, right? And I knew when I put my stuff out, I said, man, people are really going to identify with me, because when I joined into the real estate world, I was like an anomaly in a way, right? Very young, because I think the average real estate agent age is like 55, right? And it's older, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So even if you're like under 40, you're like probably 10%. It's crazy. But again, everyone looks and sounds the same. They dress the same, they walk the same, they talk the same. They're basically the same. And I said, man, I'm gonna shake this thing up. So the fact that I would cuss, the fact that I would dress like this, the fact that I wasn't afraid to talk about controversial topics, but then I brought like a mega amount of skill. People are like, what the fuck? He's like better at the traditional shit than the traditional people, but he doesn't move or sound or talk or walk like them. What the hell is going on? And I'm like, I've arrived, motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, 100%. But I knew that was me. I wasn't doing it to get attention. I wasn't doing it for whatever reason. It was like, this is really who I am. I'm unapologetically me. Here you go. And now what's tied with that, I think, is everybody wants everyone to like them. Yeah. And that's when you lose. That's why we make fun of all these celebrities that just endorse whatever candidate or whatever, because they want everybody to like them. And in the end, nobody likes them, because you won't draw a line in the sand and you won't say, hey, this is who I am. And I've stood by what I've stood by, bro. Even with the whole thing, I don't know if we can say this because of the censorship, but Trump, right? I was the only vocal person I knew, especially in California back in 2015, saying, fuck it, I'm voting for Trump, bro. I'm going for somebody new.
That takes balls, bro.
Yeah. Now, everywhere I look on social media, everybody loves him.
Right.
But I was the only one. And again, I'm not political or anything, but I was like, fuck it, yeah, I'm voting for him. And people will want to fight me. I'm like, well, fuck it, bro. If it got to go to blows, I'm not going to change my viewpoint because you don't like it or the media told you he's bad. Yeah. I was like, 100%. They were just rapping about him a couple years ago, and now he's a dick. Like, but at the time, I was like, let's try something new. Fuck it. We need a businessman. Put him in there. 100%. But I had no problem standing on that island alone saying, yo, I'm voting for him. Do something. And everyone tried to discredit me. Oh, you're Hispanic. How can you vote for him? And blah, blah, blah. I was like, man, shut the fuck up, right? Because I was like, if you disagree, I don't care. Right. This is who I am.
100%.
So in other areas where you agree with me, it's cool. But now when I stand for something you don't agree with, it's a problem.
No, it's a problem. Yeah,
Get out of here, bro.
Nah. I'm the same way. I'm very unapologetic with who I am. I'm reasonable. Yeah. Like, I'm reasonable, and I'm not. You can always have a conversation with me. Typically, though, when I take a stance, it's well thought out, and I stick to my guns. Typically, I feel you on that. Like, I feel like people are willing to negotiate the non-negotiables. You feel me? Yep. Principles. Like, things you need to, these are my non-negotiables, and I won't change this no matter what. You know, like, do you value honesty? Do you value integrity? Authenticity is a big one for me. If I can't be authentic in that environment and with that person, then that's not the environment for me, bro. 100%. I have to be able to be authentically me. Yeah. You know, that's the reason, just like my content, you're another example of why your content does well, because you're just being yourself. There's no... I can't do the dress up in a chicken suit and, like, you know, hold fish up in the air in the middle of a Japanese crowd. Like, you know, Logan Paul, that works for you, bro, but that's not me. I can't do that stuff. And I get that you have to come off in a way that's entertaining, but you don't want to. I don't want to come off as a clown. That's just not my thing. So authenticity for me, like it comes down to three things. Really, my core principles is honesty, authenticity, and bravery. Like if you could be brave, and like in spite of being scared, just make the decision and do it anyway. That's big for me. When I see people who are in positions like who are nervous and don't know what they're doing, but they take a chance around me, bro, I go out of my way to be like, listen, bro, like you're doing good. Like keep doing your thing. I go out of my way to recognize people who are honest with me. I go out of my way to thank people who are authentic with me, who are real, because it's rare nowadays. Yeah. Everybody's so worried about what everybody else thinks that, oh, maybe, I don't know, I shouldn't say that this way. Or
they'll violate themselves over that. And you brought it up. People, if you ask them, what are your core principles and values, they can't even answer it, bro. And then upon further inspection, they crumble very quickly. 100%. So I remember, like, you know, we were talking off camera too about the whole like dating world thing. I'd always have conversations with women about, you know, cheating, right? I don't want a man cheating on me no matter what. And as soon as I said, well, what if you made X amount of money? All of a sudden there was a hesitation or, well, I'm like, there you go. So you're not standing on principle, because all we need to do is raise the money dial, and all of a sudden it's not a principle for you anymore. 100%. You're willing to throw it away.
You're right.
So again, upon further inspection, people crumble. So they just say these things, but a lot of that's peer pressure, what society tells them, instead of analyzing and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I want, and this is what I stand for, no matter what.
No matter what.
Especially if it's money or anything else. But again, a lot of people don't have a backbone nowadays either, right? But I mean, we can go into whatever, bro. But again,
jellyfish.
People are growing up in broken homes and all this other shit. People are being taught principles. They're emulating the wrong people. Society teaches a lot of bullshit. So, you know, that's why we're in this state of just chaos.
It all ties in together, bro.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Alrighty, guys. So we're going to go ahead and hear from our second sponsor real quick, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, guys, taking a quick break from the podcast to bring you a word from our sponsor, Christian J. DePaz. Appreciate him for coming through. He offers a phenomenal service. Guys, you know I'm a big promoter of entrepreneurship, owning a company, starting a business, doing your own thing, and chasing your own dreams. But as the old saying goes, it takes money to make money. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Christian J. DePaz and what he does. He gets funding for new and startup businesses. Christian, tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you so much, bro, for the opportunity to come inside your podcast and help more entrepreneurs start their own business or scale their current businesses. So what we do here at Secure Funding is that we'll help you acquire anywhere between $50,000 to $150,000 at 0% interest rate business credit, so that you can once again start or scale your current business. So if you come hear from our good friend Nelson, there's no other you're coming from, then we'll have him at the podcast and we'll take extra good care of you. With that being said, brother, thank you so much for bringing us on.
Of course, of course. What are you waiting for, guys? Click the link in the bio.
Political either, but it got to the point where
we're good. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, it got to the point where I was like, man, people are just afraid of anything. You know, like they won't do anything. Well, and I see it now too, because every once in a while, because I'll admit I don't consume too much content, but every once in a while somebody will send me a clip, like let's say it's a political one, right? And they'll be out on the street like, is a trans woman a woman? And people have such a fucking difficulty. Oh, that's a tough one. It's not a fucking tough question. It's a no. It's not a biological woman, bro. But again, they want to say that and they'll admit it later typically, but they don't want to offend anybody or whatever. So now we have to sidestep truth for people's feelings?
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
100%.
That's why we're crumbling in society, is because we can't even say the truth now. The truth is offensive. It's ridiculous.
And democracy is it's built on debate.
Yeah.
Let everybody talk out their ideas. If your idea really is better than mine, then you should be willing to talk about your ideas with me.
Yeah.
Because if we both talk about our ideas and we debate it out in front of people, people will decide whose idea is better.
Yeah.
So this whole idea about, oh no, because I don't want to discuss this. No, we should discuss it. The things you think that shouldn't be discussed with other people are the very things you should be discussing, because that's the reason we're in a state of like emergency, in my opinion, in this country, because of that lack of open discourse, like discourse and debate and hashing things out in a conversational manner in front of other people is literally the basis of this country. Yeah. You know,
and people don't want to have the conversation about relationships or money
because
or
it's
wealth.
difficult and it's uncomfortable.
And where are we crumbling the most, though? In all those areas where we refuse to have the conversation.
100%.
You know, and a lot of it too, I think social media has been a blessing but a curse at the same time, because people's conversational skills have gone down.
Mm.
I find, because especially in my career and what I do, I need to be talking to people all the time. And I noticed, I was like, man, people are so concerned when they go to conversate with a lot of people. They're not making a mistake. It's just everyone else is so fucking socially awkward.
100%.
They don't even know how to respond. And because they respond in an awkward way,
Bro.
the person who approached is like, whoa, I did something wrong. No, bro, you didn't. We're just a fucking mess.
Yes.
You know, everywhere you go, everyone's on their phone. So I'll have a rule. Hey, when we go out, stack the fucking phones in the middle of the table and we're going to talk.
Yep.
And then people are just kind of sitting there. I'm like, bro, has it been that long since you talked?
Yeah,
Like, we
man.
can't put the fucking phone down? Or you can tell that they want to reach for it. They're like lunging. It's like, bro, you're a fucking addict.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's worse than
Yeah.
drugs. People are stuck to their screens, and it's
The dopamine hit, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And another going back to having the conversations. That's why podcasting has blown up, because you get to see people having these difficult conversations or talking about these things that you wish you could talk about or you wish you had the courage to talk about, but you're living vicariously through other people because they're the ones having those conversations and saying it on the biggest stage in the world, which is Facebook. I mean, 3 billion users a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So whether it's Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever, it's literally the biggest stage in the world. So it's like, man, the open discourse that we're lacking is why this podcast scene has gotten so big, because it's literally filling the giant void in society that is like no debate, no discourse, no conversations, no difficult conversations, right? That's why you have, you know, the viral clips of like the relationships, or the viral clips about politics, or the viral clips about just the purpose in life and meaning and inspiration, because these things aren't being talked about.
Yeah. And now it's, I think, their job when they watch it to go talk about it.
Yes.
Not only spread it, but they themselves in their lives to go talk and actually extend
Yes.
that discourse and continue it, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Brian, we could be here the rest of the day, bro. This has been super, super awesome. I appreciate you coming through. We'll do this again sometime for sure. We'll collaborate. I'm sure we'll collaborate on something at some point, you know, some sort of event or something. We'll do something together.
Yeah, I got a lot going on, bro, so I'll include you on it. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, definitely. So I usually end all my podcasts with 3 questions. So first question, what inspires you?
I would say the potential of the human being, you know, whether it was channeled for me through basketball or whatever I'm doing now, to continue to stretch and grow, see what I've achieved, but know what's to come in the future, right? And maximizing that, to me, just, it keeps me giddy and it wakes me up early, keeps me up late, you know, just that potential, bro, that we have. It's insane.
It's the saddest thing in the world is, and this has happened more than once in my life, is when I see like how much potential someone has and they just don't see it themselves.
Man.
Or
Daily conversation for me.
even worse is they see the potential in themselves and they just don't believe they can act it out. Like they don't believe that that's a possibility for them.
Yep.
It frustrates the shit out of me because I see so many people who are so capable, and they're just like living this super average, like, well, whatever, that's not, you know, that, yeah, it's possible, but
Yeah.
that's more, it's, you know, the odds are against me.
And they come up with these fascinating stories, bro, to collaborate that. And it's just like, wow, you did such a good job with that, but then you can't flip it and use it in your favor. It's crazy.
It's wild, man. Yeah. For myself, it's the opposite. The more I grow in life and the more time passes and the more experiences I gain, the more I realize the only thing holding me back is me.
Yeah.
And if I just manage to get myself out of my own way and really just focus on where I want to go, forget about getting there. Who you become on that journey and what you, like, the things you pick up along the way and the people you meet and the things you learn and the skills you pick up, that's priceless, bro. It's forget about the destination. It's about the kind of person you mold yourself into, going through all the obstacles, meeting all those people, and just doing all those things that, wow, like 5 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years later, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, wow, you know, like I'm a totally different human being,
Yeah.
you know? That's a big one for me.
Huge,
I feel you on that one.
huge.
Second question, what's next for Brian?
What's next for me? Man, I could answer this a million different ways. You know, I'm really doing what I want to do on the real estate side. I'm working with a developer now, and that was huge. That was
Fire.
always on my board, because the 2 big things for me in real estate was go nationwide with my team and then work with a developer. And I finally started working with a developer now, so that's huge.
That's awesome.
Now that I'm back on my original YouTube channel, I want to blow that thing up. I want to get to 1 million with that for sure. And the next one is the next property I buy, I want to get at least half an acre or an acre and make my own compound, grow my own food,
Dope.
build my own gym on it, and have my own complex there that maybe I could do like masterminds in and stuff. But that's really the focus for me.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's definitely the way to go, especially with food, and everybody's leaning more towards. One positive thing that is happening is that as far as our food and our lifestyle, because of social media and getting information out, we are more aware of the things we're eating, the way we're living our lives. So I will say on that side, there is more of a consciousness going on, you know?
For sure.
Like, I don't know if this is true, but I read somewhere that it said 1 in 20,000 people has a six-pack in the United States. And 1 in 16 people is a millionaire.
Yeah.
So the disparity between, like, healthy people and people who have money is like, all right, so maybe being rich isn't as hard as I thought. Maybe it is harder to be fit and, like, live that kind of lifestyle.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you know what the thing is in Miami is that all the fit people live down here, so we don't. So we look at that stat and we're like, no, that can't be true.
Yeah.
I know off the top of my head, I know like 4 out of 10 guys that have a six pack.
Yeah.
And then the women, don't even get me started, bro. Down
Yeah.
here, they're just like
Next level.
they live in the gym, bro.
Yeah.
You know. And then the last question, Bryan, how do you want to be remembered when you're not here anymore?
How do I want to be remembered? That everyone who I came in contact with, I made them better, bro. That's really what it's about. Now that I've grown to the point that I'm at, a lot of my time is spent mentoring and helping and coaching and that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
And to see the results that people are getting, just, you know, it warms my heart. And back then, I didn't think I would really focus on that. But now that I've stepped into that role and I'm older now and I'm more of an OG, I'm really relishing in that and enjoying it. So I would say the stamp is just, you know, the positive benefits that I left on the people around me, for sure.
Bro, there's nothing like what really inspires me sometimes is history. I pick up these books. I'm a huge Robert Greene fan. I love 48 Laws of Power, 32 Strategies of War, Art of Seduction.
Yeah.
Bro, those
Classics.
mastery.
Yeah.
Laws of Human Nature, that's my favorite one.
Yeah.
And you see these people throughout history who did these amazing things, and it's like, shit, man, how many people have read this book? 48 Laws of Power has sold, I don't know, like 2 million copies or some retarded number like that. Look at us reading about these people thousands of years after they die, hundreds of years after they die. I just imagine myself being almost like a legend or like this folklore tale of like Achilles or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, what does imagine doing something so legendary that it gets turned into like this fable,
Yeah.
you know, this legendary person. And that is inspiring to me, you know, because we're not immortal, but our names can be immortal. And just imagining those crazy stories being told about the people I know or my friends or myself in 1,000 years, like that's like, that takes me way out of my own mind and just sees things on such a grander scale on how a story of something I did 500 or 1,000 years from now, some kid will pick up a book about, you know, something I did, and he'll be like, the way I read about Alexander the Great today, maybe if I do something grand enough or big enough like he did 500 or 1,000 years later, some kid will pick up a book that is trying to figure out life, and he'll read about me and be like, holy shit, this guy did that, you know? I want to be like that. So it's crazy when that's why I love history, because it just takes me out of my like, it's almost like an out-of-body experience where your body's only capable of being here in the here and now, but once you expand that perspective and you look at the world from like a worldview or like even a universal view, and you see time differently, and you see the things that people have done 100,000 years ago or 100,000 years in the future, it's trippy.
All those things transcend time, bro.
Yeah, man.
And it could be stamped into eternity. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Bryan, I appreciate you coming through, bro.
Brother. Thank
Definitely.
you, man.
So how can people connect with you?
Easiest way, if you want to talk to me directly, Instagram. But if you put Bryan Casella, you'll find me on YouTube. I have 196,000 subscribers, something like that. You'll see my channel.
Fire.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Appreciate you
bro.
coming through. We'll do this again sometime.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, guys. So that is another episode of Montana Method Podcast. Your host, Nelson. Special guest, Bryan Casella. As always, push it to the limit. The world is yours. If you're not chasing a dream, life is meaningless, guys. Say goodnight to the bad guy.
I've been out here hustling all my life. Every day we get into it. Really out here in these streets. That's day and night. Like there's nothing to it. When I was going through it, dog, I never got your call. I never asked for nothing, no. But now I want it all. Promise I'ma do it. Came from rags to riches. riches. Rags to riches, came from rags to riches. Rags to riches, came from